Hey, Ryan Michael Galloway here with We Don't Need No Stinking Recordcompany.com, and I'd promised you that we were going to start talking about how to produce yourself and what does that mean. And so let's start with some of the roles. What is a producer? And for that matter, what's the difference between the producer on a recording and say the engineer? Well, the producer is kind of the project manager. They're responsible for the timing and the budget and the scheduling. In that regard, they're much like the producer of a movie. But in addition to that, they're like the director of a movie in that they're the one that's calling the shots during the actual recording. They decide what techniques are used once they're presented maybe with several different types of techniques or tonalities. They make a lot of decisions, and they decide when a take is a good take and a bad take. And so that leads us to the question is, well, a couple more questions. You don't want to walk into a recording studio or even just a home recording project without some kind of a plan. You walk into a recording studio and basically the engineer is going to say, so what are we going to do? And they will take all the time in the world to get you recorded because they're getting paid by the hour typically. And they aren't particularly motivated to move the project along or do things effectively or efficiently, and they're going to do things at whatever pace they want to do it. Whereas a project manager in the role of the producer comes in and says, here's what we're going to start with, here's what comes next, here's what comes next, and let's get to it, let's get the mic set up and let's get rolling. Things are going to happen a whole lot faster. Ultimately, if that's, if there's a producer on the team, probably things are going to be a lot cheaper because you're going to spend less time doing it. So that's maybe how the role of producer differs from the engineer. Now, it does beg the question, can you produce yourself? And there's a real argument. I've been talking with my friend Mudcat Reams, a blues player here in North Texas, who's just recorded a fantastic new CD. And he doesn't believe it's possible to produce yourself. And everybody's got to make that judgment call for themselves. Frankly, though, I think that you can produce yourself, but the question is, do you have somebody on the other side of the board that can listen to what's happening and at least give you some kind of idea as to whether or not the take was good or bad? That is a lot like directing yourself, and it's very difficult to know whether something worked or didn't work if you're not on the other side of the camera or the other side of the recording console. So in my particular situation, I'm usually a producer on my CDs, but I'm a co-producer. And in my case, I have a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ron Logan at a home studio down in DeSoto, Texas. And he's fantastically well set up and has a fantastic ear to go with his great setup. But we collaborate on our production. We don't just advocate to one of us or the other. He is one of the few people I've known who can engineer and produce at the same time, which is also another interesting concept. But then again, he gets paid by the project, not necessarily by the hour a lot of times, and that can make a difference and is another way to make sure that your project gets done quickly. So that's a couple things about producers to think about. I'd love to hear your thoughts too. I am Ryan Michael Galloway for We Don't Need No Stinking Recordcompany.com.